funny it's not green. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ohm School Live. We are here. We are on time, and we are ready to break down all of this crazy talk about the mindset. Welcome everybody again. We've got Master Spiritual Teacher here, GP Walsh, myself, host and student Lisa Berry. And I thought with all this, you know what it is, it's September. So right now, if you are watching us live, then we're going back to school. We're starting things back up. Summertime is settling down. And there's a lot going on around social media and all those, your inbox, I'm sure, is getting filled up with how to change and shift your mindset. Have a positive mindset and get your affirmations up on the wall. And what is yours? And why don't we share them? And this is our culture. This is everywhere in our culture. And I thought, how does this play a role in self-inquiry, in non-duality, and in what we're talking about? So GP, we've come up with, GP came up with this snazzy title, The Mindset of God. Affirmations, visualizations, and other things God doesn't need. And so I'm going to take this to a really a very mainstream question to open this. I would like to know, GP, the difference, and if there is one, between the mindset and beliefs. I'll give you a little background on that one, because a lot of people they easily accept and say, oh, I've got to change my mindset, or I've got to, get a better one, turn it around. But if we were to say, you've got to change your beliefs, or you've got to improve them, or have a positive belief, I feel like we get a little bit more defensive, or like, oh, wait, that's personal. we can talk about the mindset, but don't you mess around with my beliefs. Or we're more identified with our beliefs, or anchored to them. But I'm wondering how similar they are. Do they have that? Are they the same thing? Are they connection, and why are they treated differently?
Well, mindset is kind of a modern term, right? To indicate attitude, and it there's different levels to beliefs, right? There's beliefs that are purely of the intellect, which are easily looked at and changed. They're the sticky ones are the ones that are not on the surface. They're not so intellectual. And the worst, of course, are energetic assumptions, which are in the body. And no mindset is going to be able to do anything with those. And so, and it's like, it's almost like it's a psychological technique that I'm just trying to retrain my mind to think differently. And there are, one of the things I say about the whole law of attraction and Abraham Hicks is they define a belief as simply a thought you keep thinking, right?
Yes.
Right. And so from that point of view, mindset would be very effective, but it isn't, because they're not. Yes, they are things you keep thinking, right? But why? Why do you keep thinking of? What's holding all of those in place? And oftentimes, the thing that's holding those things in place is not a thought. It's a different level of belief. It's a belief that's embodied itself into the nervous system. So when you're talking about a mindset, you're really talking about the general approach or attitude or disposition you have towards your life, which includes all sorts of different things. But it's primarily what you can pinpoint in your mind. Now, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in our mind that is just almost unconscious, right? The thoughts go by, but we don't notice them. So yes, in that sense, we are thinking the same thing over and over again, right? But because it's only because we haven't noticed them. It's like anything else. Look, I've used this example before. You're walking down a street you've walked down 100 times, right? And the first time you walk down that street, you're noticing everything, right? Or like you walk through a park and there's a statue, right? Oh, look, it's a statue of Gandhi, right? Remember the first time that park in New York had a statue of Gandhi, and in India there was this huge statue of Shiva. But after a while, if you're walking there all the time, you don't see it anymore.
Yeah, your
You just
attention.
kind of you just kind of phase it out. You can phase out whole swaths of things, right? So you're walking down the street and go, "Wow, that's new, isn't it?" And the person you're with says, "It's been there for 10 years."
No, it
You
hasn't.
simply didn't see it. Now, the thoughts moving through our head are like that. We simply get so used to them, we don't pay any attention to them. They're like the statue in the park that you just don't even notice anymore. And until there's some kind of a process by which you begin consciously decide to watch and look at those things, they will just continue to go on and on. And that's what self-inquiry is. It's coming to a place where you actually can scrutinize them, where you can see them, right? Where you notice the statue, right? And you take a little time and you read oh, this is really bad.
Who wrote
Like
that?
Civil War, like Civil War generals and stuff in the South. No, we shouldn't have memorial statues of those guys in the park. You lost. Deal with it. But this is what happens. This is what happens, and this is what we want to call the subconscious. I think it's really just not paying attention. You get so used to it that you don't pay attention. And so paying attention is the heart and soul of self-inquiry. Anytime anybody's done a meditation, what do? I take you in there and I just watch, look around. What do you see? That thought that just went by, what is that? Is that really true? But if we don't take the time to do that, we will be walking around with a bunch of thoughts and feelings that are not just serving us, they're not even ours.
And is that what creates the mindset? So we have, 90,000 things, zipping around, and this mass of thoughts creates a mindset that we operate from, or no, we're not even operating from it.
Well, we are operating. When we're not conscious of it, we are operating from it.
Right.
And that is the mindset, right? It's our disposition towards life. It's how we are with life, both on an intellectual and a mental level, and also on an emotional level, right? So you could you're talking about your emotion set as well, right?
Yeah, word change there. I like that. So is our mindset almost our unconscious thoughts? It's not, so we can't even, well, we can reprogram
Yes.
it because it's a program.
Because it is a program. Yes, you can, but first you have to become conscious of it. If you're not conscious of it, you can't do anything with it. First, you got to turn the light on, right? And when you turn the light on, you have to have some point of view, some perspective to take on it. Otherwise, you can't discriminate what's true and what isn't.
Right. Yes.
Because remember, the mind just is what it is. I mean, it's just however it was taught to be, right? It doesn't have the power of discrimination. It can't assess itself. The ego can't smell its own breath.
Yes, I love that one.
Yeah. So something else has to come up that is not the mindset to be able to look at it and assess it.
Okay, this is funny. So I decided in my room yesterday that I would move some furniture around, and I moved it around in the daytime, in the daylight. I consciously decided where to put things, and I wasn't a big fan of it, but I was like, well, it's the end of the day. This is how much time I had, and I went to sleep. I turned the light out, and I live in the country, so there's no curtains on everything, so there's different light coming in. And as I was laying there, I thought, I don't like the look of those shadows. That is not familiar. It created different silhouettes.
Yeah.
And I lay there and I was like, I'm going to close my eyes and go to sleep anyways. What does it matter? But I started getting that. I'm not going to say that I was afraid, but an unsettling. I wasn't comfortable. I wasn't familiar. I was looking now. The light was on, but I didn't have, was what you said. I didn't have I needed something else to say if I was safe or not. So needless to say, I turned all the lights on, moved the furniture back, and then I went back to bed. But
needless to say,
I'll deal with it today in the daylight. But all I kept thinking was I'm going to get up and stub my toe if I don't know what's going on here. So I really appreciate that. One thing to turn the light on. Okay, look around. Okay, I see that. Wow. But then if we don't have that process to, or something, and what is that something that helps us move from, okay, the light's on, now what?
To discriminate?
To
That's
discriminate.
something?
Yeah.
That's the mindset of God.
Oh. See how we snuck that in there? Okay. So now we have the mindset.
Well, you just fed me that. You fed me. You set me up for that perfectly. What can I say?
So it's the discernment, the discriminating thought between what is simply just passing and unconscious to what is conscious is the mindset of God. And now I let you really take it from here.
Well, what can discriminate something that's true, or whether something is true or false? The only thing that can discriminate between what's true and false is the truth. And the truth is simply another word for God. I mean, in the West, we've got a concept of God as a person, right? With personal attributes and concerns, and not a very nice one either. I have to say, not like that grandpa figure you want to look up to, right? Yeah. But the truth is, it's not a person. That's just a representation, right? That's just a way of representing that which is really cannot be put into words or any kind of form, because it's beyond all form. Truth is beyond all form, right? It doesn't have a form. What color is it? Where you put it? It's in the closet. I mean, it's timeless. It doesn't occupy space and time. It's in another dimension altogether. And that dimension is the dimension of the absolute, the ultimate, the reality, which are all names for what we would call God. Personified, it becomes God or a God. But in its essence, it is beyond form. But that insight, when you look at something and you can tell that something is true or not, that which is informing that is the truth of God. That is God. That's why it's God within. It's not somebody out there saying something to you. It's a set. You see it, right? And so the seeing of it itself is God. We're one. There aren't two there. It's not somebody whispering to you or even sending angels.
Is that a bit of a mindset that it's a mindset, it's a program thing that we have this separate identity, like, oh, I'm going to go talk to God, or I'm going to say my prayers. I'm saying them to someone else other than me. But okay, hold on one second here. This is an interesting one. So if I can meet you halfway, but I'm still not there yet, let's say, if I could see that the discernment is God, and I'm going to talk to God, can I not? If I could talk to the mindset of God, no, it won't work, because I'm trying to say, can we still hold some kind of separation? Like, okay, God has the perfect mindset, so if I could just tap into God's mindset, like, but then we're
that's okay. Oh. That's okay. This isn't an all or nothing kind of thing, because we have all been programmed from the get-go with a sense of separation. And that sense of separation gave rise to a sense of identity as a separate entity. And so it's perfectly natural, with that as an underlying assumption, as the mindset, that we're going to regard God as an other, as the ultimate other, right? Which, in fact, you look around, that is most religion, right? Because it is this perspective. And so the idea of oneness and singularity it cannot be conceived of by the mind. Now, that's okay, right?
Okay.
If you're at this particular place and this is where you're laboring under, we can talk as if it was something separate, right? But we can start referring to it we can start taking away from it all of the ugly negative aspects of it, the fear of God, the shame, the guilt, the sense of being sinful, the other stuff that comes with the separation. You get a completely different perspective on this being, which, that's what happened to me at first. It was first God became this total benevolence. It was love itself. There was still a sense of separation, that I was another entity, but God became a benevolent figure, rather than the cruel enforcer. And then at that point, you can begin to recognize the energetic signature of truth that's full of love and benevolence and forgiveness and letting you off the hook, and and
That's my
and the
favorite.
like. And you begin to realize that that's the spirit of it. And in that sense, the messages come, and they feel like they're coming from, a source beyond myself, because I think of myself still in a subtle way as being separate. And so I can identify these messages, can see them as angels, or lesser gods or something. It doesn't really matter, because you're facing in the right direction, right? And for a lot of people, especially on the bhakti path, the path of devotion, which is Christian, it's blasphemous to become one with that truth, right? But eventually, you begin to see that there's more truth here than there is me, and eventually, I just kind of disappear, because what else could there be but the truth? So in that, God then becomes my very own being.
I like the seamlessness of that. And yes, I actually, I have the tattoo I am, and I have been accused of some horrendous things because of it. So I'm with you on that one. I've been at the end of that one. But I really can appreciate, and that feels good, that even if you, like you said, where you are, that's good, you're facing in the right direction. And I'd love to hear from any comments if anybody is feeling that too. That was like, that really felt nice. First of all, I was like, okay, phew, I can go there first. Like, you've got to start somewhere. And when I love that you said the energetic signature. Ooh, that was good. Because you're recognizing something. You don't have to know what it is, but you can recognize whether it feels good or feels bad, like that punishment or that judgment and shame. And so
Yeah.
when the mindset, if we bring it back to mindset, is it first that perhaps the most healthiest thing for us to do is to shift that to see the energetic signature of our own mindset? Is it self-blaming, harmful, or violent, or is our own mindset energetic signature loving, compassionate, and
Well, it's a great question, because we all experience guilt and shame and all of those kinds of things. And what happens is that if we become aware of it, we try to remedy that through, shifting our attitude, shifting our mind, changing the mindset, right? Which is really just putting a smiley face on it, because it operates at a different level, right? That sense of being a sinner, right? Of being born in sin, which has just been the most horrific thing laid upon humanity, is something that is so deeply embodied in the body itself that a shift in mindset isn't going to have any effect on it. It can have some degree of effect. It can change things up, but you can see that it's going to take an enormous amount of energy to sustain it.
yeah.
Because you're fighting against this energy inside that's just going, no way.
Wow.
And that energy is silent. It doesn't use words. It manipulates thoughts. It isn't itself a thought. It's an energetic signature. It's a
Wow.
pattern, right? So it is beyond, it is underneath the layers of thought, emotion, and sensation. And these things and this, at this level of energetic assumption, right? At this level of belief, it affects, it influences, and even creates those other states of which we become conscious. And because it is invisible, because you can't see it, you can only see it by the effect that it has, right? So you see there's a particular effect and go, ooh, whatever it is that's underneath here, it ain't good. Because this tree is not producing good fruit. It's kind of like a black hole. I love that example. The black holes in space, right? They found them. It was theoretically possible that it was the math and everything, that it was possible for such things to exist. But they finally found them because they were looking at places and there was nothing where there should have been something. Because you can't actually see them because light can't even escape. And so the way they could identify them is the effect they were having on everything around them. Right? So at this level of what you can call belief or a really deep assumption, it's a black hole. It's influencing, and you cannot see it directly, only the effect that it has. And in fact, that's the truth of God. You cannot see God. You can only see the effect of it.
Writing that time signature down right now. That was beautiful. That one I really logically got the effect of it, because often we might look at our lives, because most often we'll go to a mindset shift course or an affirmation thing because we are not liking what has been manifested. What are we witnessing? What are we experiencing? And we think, I don't like that. I don't like this bank account number. I don't like this relationship. I don't like this health or this body. And so we can't say it's because I believe this, this, and this, and I think this and this. But there's an energetic signature, you're right, that is manifesting it because it's now in 3D world. Yes. And so when so here's a question. When we do self-inquiry, we always go and look within, but is there any value to asking, what do I see? What does my life look like? Or is that a self-inquiry?
Well, life is beautiful in that it always reflects you back to you.
Right? Reflection, right?
And so, these underlying assumptions, they lie very deep. I mean, if you span it across lives, it's karma, right? It's vasanas. It's the deep stuff, right? And that energy is so deep, it literally produces another birth.
Yeah.
So what's the energy that's producing that birth? Well, that's it. It's and you can be aware of it right now. You can see its influence everywhere. So it's not a law being imposed on from the outside. It's a character of energy that's operating unseen.
Yes.
And self-inquiry is the process by which you see it.
Yes. Oh, that was so good. Okay. Are we drawn to certain affirmations because of the energetic signature the affirmation has and what we have? Like, is that being reflected to us?
Sure. The very fact that you're drawn to an affirmation means there's something in you reaching for freedom, for goodness, for happiness, for all of the good stuff, right? We're only misled by thinking that the reach should be out there. That's the only problem. The motivation is absolutely pure. It's absolutely correct. We sense that something's off, but until we encounter someone or something that can point us in the right direction, we will be reaching out there. We won't be looking at the source, and in that case, we'll be rearranging we'll be rearranging the furniture, right?
Right. Oh, I didn't realize how well that was going to lend itself here. Because that's so interesting. So we know we're talking about the mindset of God, but we're talking mindsets and what we are familiar with, affirmations and things like that. So when if I were to take a snapshot of my apartment 10 years ago versus my home today, they're very, very different things, different I would say mindset. So how does our minds? So are we just seeing more of our? I'm trying to grasp it at the same time. So we're seeing more. Maybe I've seen more. I've seen differently, and so I'm going to be drawn to a different energetic signature of what I'm working. Am I working on it? No, because then I'm fixing things again. Darn it, that I'm uncovering. Live class here.
Look, the very fact that we're having the discussion means you're pointed in the right direction. Right? Because we can go through our lives just changing, but not really going anywhere. Right?
Yeah.
We're just changing. And of course, change is going to happen all the time. You're going to have different tastes at 20, and then you are at 30, you are at 40, then you are at 70. It's just going to be different. That happen, and that's just going to happen. That does not necessarily represent any kind of growth or progress. You have people get into a practice, and I meditate 2 hours a day, and I have for 10 years. I go, what do you got out of it? Well, it's my practice. It's what I do. For what? That's it? You're going to just sit and chant Om, or is that it? There's no end result. All practices should have an end game. They should make themselves obsolete. So when something arises, and it's kind of happened across the whole globe with the rise of the consciousness movement and self-help and that sort of thing. At its root, it has been this energy of seeking freedom. It's just been immature, misguided, and so it kind of misunderstood a lot of this ground has been well covered for thousands of years. Okay. You just have to come to the mindset, to the sensitivity and the openness to let it speak to you and take it seriously, which is difficult in a very materialistic culture, in a very materialistic world, which is the emphasis is always on the external. That's all you get. And so I say to people, turn within, they have no idea what I'm talking about.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's the very direction and instruction that we might get frustrated with, because we're like, I know that's caring and loving of you to say, and it sounds like it's a different direction than when I'm going, so it sounds good, but where the heck are you talking about?
Yeah, right? Where's this? Where is this? Right? And it is just really, the focus becomes on yourself. And I don't mean in a selfish way. I don't mean making my life better. I'm saying, well, what is it here that's really me? Which of these thoughts really are me? Which of these feelings really are me? And if you get a bit of an understanding of how conditioning works, and the like, you get a firm foundation to go, well, there's a lot of stuff that I'm feeling and thinking about myself that I've just inherited and never questioned. Is that really who I am? Is that really what I'm like? And that's an inward inquiry, right? It's not selfish. It's a deep desire to know yourself as you actually are. And of course, when you find that out, you find that what you actually are is God. That is what God stands for, the truth of your being. And then it all just folds together. Because when you have disposed of everything that isn't you, and you can't dispose of anything else, well, what's left? Well, it's got to be you.
Garbage day, my favorite day.
Yeah, just kind of throwing this stuff out. But it is a process. We have to be careful, because we can easily throw the baby out with the bathwater. We can get into the absolute. Okay, it's all an illusion. I don't see anything, right? Right. Or we can turn it into the process that has to take 30 years. There's all sorts of different places where we can get stuck in the mud. And we all are going to get, I guarantee you will get stuck in the mud.
I've been stuck in the mud so many times.
But if you understand that, it naturally cultivates humility. It cultivates community. We begin to trust each other that we can tell each other truths, right, and not be so, and not be afraid of the criticism that is warranted, because we can create a loving environment in which we can all do this work together and support ourselves in it. That's what a sangha is about. That's what a church is supposed to be about. Right?
If when I'm just talking about churches, I guess, and satsang are coming together where it's supposed to be a loving community, and I'm going to go with energetic signature, I guess, of what is created by many and what is created by one. Let's say I go to church and I have a neighbor that goes to the same church, and GP, you come to the church, and we all have a different experience. Maybe my neighbor feels like nervous and scared and shameful and judged, and I feel what the opposite. I don't know, not the opposite, but like loved and warmed and welcomed. And then you're very scrutinizing. Who's here? What's going on? How go? How, if we have energetically signatured manifested this thing, is it still because it's us looking through it, or are we actually creating anything at all? Is the mindset still belong to us, or does it can belong to an entity?
Another great question. It's both, right? Because you look at when you scrutinize the patterns of thought and the like, you find that a lot of them aren't even yours, right? They're patterns that were installed in you. So they're cultural patterns. They're cultural ideas. You hear it all the time. Some kind of cultural idea becomes trendy and it shows up in advertisements and right, a particular word phrase. I mean, woke, right, is one, right? Just gag me. But suddenly it's woke and it's anti-woke, and I mean, all of a sudden this thing came out of nowhere. Everybody's kind of glommed onto it as if it had any actual meaning. And we're always just giving the meaning to it. But I mean, for a church or a sangha to be successful in their mission, we each individually have to diligently be doing the inner work that creates that space in which it is safe, in which somebody can say, I'm feeling really judged right now. Right? Is there anything to it? Right. And, if somebody else says, yeah, you know what, I am judging you, I'm sorry about that. So, or no, nobody is, it's just a feeling. Right. But it's a space in which that can happen. Right. But if I'm in a space and it isn't safe for that, I'm just going to hide it. I'm going to pretend I'm not judging. Right. I'm going to just kind of shy away. I'm going to stay away and think it's my fault. Right. This is, creating a kind of environment in which this kind of inquiry can happen is, well, it's paramount. It's what it's all about. It starts by making the environment safe for yourself, right? That's the first step of turning within, is to just watch the flow of your own thoughts and the like without judgment, right? Accepting the way you feel. Right? This is how I feel. Not as this is what I believe, but this is a feeling going on in my body, and I really don't like it. Right? This is an emotion I'm having, a reaction I'm having, and I need to get rid of it. But then you go, well, why do I need to get rid of it? Well, because it's wrong. Well, why is it wrong? And you can inquire into every single one of these until you get to the place where, right, that isn't an attitude or a feeling that's going to be very useful for me. Or I completely misjudged it. And it's actually a very useful feeling. As I always point out, it's what we call negative feelings are really the nervous system that doesn't feel safe. Period. That's all there is to it. So how do you make it feel safe? If you make it feel safe, it drops all of the behaviors that it was using to keep itself safe. It doesn't need them anymore. So it always comes back to that same thing of creating that safe space. And if you imagine or can just kind of consider the idea of an absolutely safe space, you're back to the mindset of God. This is heaven. This is the place where I am totally free to be myself. There is no condemnation. It is nothing but the pure innocence. And everything that I've been hanging on to, I can be released and nothing be thrown back at me. That's the pure state of the absolute love, which is the mindset of God. Love is the mindset of God. Pure love, no condemnation whatsoever. And the pure presence of that love dispels everything unlike it. And so it instantaneously heals. It doesn't need to correct you. Love, the very presence of love does the correcting.
That's a big word for me. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the word correcting, this, a useful mindset. It made me think of, and the mindset is useful to keep us safe. And that's so very valuable. You said that because I was thinking about how it's the mindset that is interacting or responding both to the environment. And the environment is created based on all of our mindsets, which is our energetic signature of what our beliefs are and stuff. So this
Yes.
is, I'm holding that ball of yarn now. I got it. I know where that thing is. I got it. But the most important thing was safe for myself. And so that's why when we think about affirmations and mindset, safe for myself, it's not selfish. It's not about fixing this and this. When we inquire of what is safe for myself, then and somebody else does that, and somebody else does that. That's the community. That's the safe and loving community that can build something together. That is all coming from the mindset of God.
Yes, the willingness to create that space for yourself, and learning how to do that, right? Because it's not something we were taught to do.
No.
Exactly the opposite, actually. It naturally opens up your heart to be doing it for others as well. It just happens because that's the nature of love, right?
Yeah.
And that is the opening to the sangha, to the group that is holding that space for each other, that is looking beyond our personal foibles to deep into the heart of everyone. And the deeper I look into my own heart, the easier it is to see the depths of somebody else.
Oh.
And to understand what they're going through, and that we've all gone through it.
Yeah.
And nobody's exempt.
Okay, that actually brought in the correction word. So if us ourselves or another has not done that self-inquiry to go deep into our own hearts, so say we're not there at all, we literally, maybe we actually really have forgotten completely about the heart existing. We are so in the materialistic world and the culture, and I want to go from brainwashed to trained to everything. I guess it would be difficult to be around if somebody who has done that work, who knows themselves. It either would be easy or difficult to be around another person like that, because now we've done the work so we can see that they haven't gone in. Or is it more like the more people we have that have not gone inward are all floating around and bumping into each other like bumper cars, smashing each other?
Well, yeah, that's inevitably the case, right? There won't be a peaceful world as long as there's egos bumping into each other, asserting their position, right? The opposite of self-inquiry is what would it be? Self-assertion, right? I mean, it's a sense that's trying to prove itself right, because it's not examining, right? And it doesn't ask the question, "Am I right?" It just says, "You're wrong."
Right. Oh, yeah.
and yes, if they're completely locked into that psychologically and emotionally, being around somebody who is awake will be very uncomfortable, and they won't even know why. Okay? You don't have to say a word; they just will be uncomfortable. I find, though, in most people, even ones that are kind of really, that there's something, if you're not feeding back to them, that if the only feedback they're getting from you is this love and acceptance, that usually something kind of relaxes. Because even though they're not questioning their position, they don't feel the same need to be asserting it. Right? Because I don't care. You know, I don't care what your position is. My job is to love you.
Right. That's interesting. It's a very interesting way of thinking about responding and how we're responding to things. Because I really, we're titling this, affirmations and mindset of God. And then it's almost like I want to do a check-in. Oh, am I coming from the mindset of God, or am I coming from the mindset of ego? Like, which is a valuable inquiry.
Absolutely. It's a completely valid question. This thought, what was the origin of this thought? Christ put it beautifully. He says that you can't, the same fountain doesn't send forth sweet water and bitter.
Right.
Right. So if I'm drinking bitter water, it's not coming from the same fountain as the sweet water. So if I've got a bunch of really negative, self-judgmental or other critical thinking, that does not come from the same place as the loving and accepting. It can't. Right? So you see that we're not trying to make a better ego. We're trying to see that the ego does nothing but judge and criticize it. That's its nature. So any self-critical thought is, oh, well, there it is. That's the ego. If I see it as such, rather than, oh, I shouldn't be thinking these things, right? If I just see it and go, oh, that's the ego, I've not identified with it. Which means I'm not giving it life. But I see it, and this happens a lot, especially in the beginning. I see this. I'm supposed to be spiritual now, right? So I can't have these judging thoughts, and I'm judging, of course, for having the judging thoughts. And now you've just simply re-identified with the pattern, but in a different way. So now I'm the spiritual guy, and I can't be this way, right? But that you just step back a little bit further and just say, well, there's a judging thought. Where's that coming from? Well, that's coming from, there's an energy there, right? It's obviously the ego, but I want to judge it. And then you feel into it because there's got a more of a feeling to it as well. And that's when you'll discover I'm judging because I don't feel safe. I don't feel complete. I don't feel whole. I don't feel valuable. And now we're getting somewhere, right? Now you go, oh, it has nothing to do with the fruit, that thought. There's way more to these roots here. And until you're all the way and you're pulling the whole thing out by the roots. And then there's nothing left. And at that point, there's nothing left but the love that has been established within you. And that can't produce anything but loving thoughts and feelings. It can't.
I have such a great image. I'm going to share that and just let everybody know that's coming on. And about right after like this little story here, we're going to be going through the comments and questions and bringing them in. When you mentioned that about, oh, that's just the ego, let's not connect with it. Let's just observe it and witness it and say, aha, that's you. It's like imagining you have a friend and your friend is going to introduce you to their group of friends. And so you're the new person. Everybody else knows everybody. They already know everybody's ego. You step in and then one other person teases you. And you're like, oh my gosh, like that host. And then your friend who brought you in says, oh, don't worry about them. They're always just being goofy and silly. There's nothing behind that. So you might either go, oh, okay, haha, funny guy. Or you might go, ooh, that really, there's something in there. I don't like, he's not safe, and then we have to do that inquiry around it. So that I kind of imagining like I'm personifying, all these little egos that sneak up, but that's kind of like it's just a little highlight to say, there is something here for you to look at. You've got some beliefs, a mindset around here that, ouch, it hurt you. But where is that coming from? Was your ego hurt, or are you just recognizing the not love coming from that person?
Right. Well, the hurt is always the ego.
Okay.
Because the mindset of God is pure love. It doesn't get offended at anything. Well, right. It means God, for crying out loud. What's going to offend infinite power? Come on.
Yeah, there you
I hate what you're doing. I hate what you're doing. I don't like that.
You listen here, God.
Yeah, I mean, so many things that you hear these TV preachers and like, God is offended by this or that. It's like, Are you kidding? They can't see. They're offended, right?
Yes. Yes.
It's pure ego, and they simply can't see it because they've projected this idea on it. But just back to your point, the feeling will be there, and you may even feel the sting. And if you feel the sting and go, "Ah, that's the ego," now that doesn't mean that person is actually safe, right?
Right.
But you're not going to be able to see that until you're clear about yourself and you get past your own ego reaction to it. Then you'll know whether is this somebody I can actually interact with, right? Or am I just, it's just like, if I'm there, I just don't have any interaction. No energy exchange takes place, right? And that's okay, but you're not going to, if the ego is just reacting, right? Well, it's the same thing. You just kind of, you're spinning your wheels. So that the self-inquiry that is willing to look into the reaction is where the spiritual maturity is. Then you'll know how to deal with, if they really are just kind of a kidder, and you can begin to kid back with them, right? Yes. And send it back and forth, which is fun. I love it. My sons and I are like that all the time.
I can imagine doing that.
all the people commented about it because it's nonstop.
And everybody here, if you would like now this is what we're talking about, a mindset course. Like, if you want to come to a workshop, you've got to come to one of GP's, because that is a real interesting self-inquiry, not mindset, the mindset of God course. That's what we should call the next one, the mindset of God workshop. Okay. So what we'll do now, because we're here on Ohm School Live, we've done our class, you've witnessed me being pure vulnerable student, and we'll go into our comments and questions. We so love and appreciate them, and we just always invite you to be here live with us when you can, or even afterwards, because we can read back to them. So we had a lot of beautiful hellos from people at first, and I just love everybody here. And I am not going to try to say that name. How shall I? Is it Kai? I think
it's Kai. Kai, or maybe just Kai. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. I always felt that we are the entirety of the balance scale. Oh, I'm a Libra, so I like that. Yet we look into the either side of ourselves to make sure we are maintaining balance while looking at other balance scales to compare with. So there's that comparing thing I like, but we'll feel what the rest of it says. We're looking there side by side. Oh,
it's just repeated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just repeated.
Okay, so there's that comparing thing again. Oh, that's so tricky.
Yeah, it is. First thing about balance, don't see yourself as the balance, because the balance is constantly changing, right? If something is perfectly balanced, what's happening? There's nothing. So life, it never stops, right? So it's never a balance in that sense. It's a flow between opposites, always. And sometimes there's more on one side, but there needs to be, and sometimes there's more on the other, and there needs to be. So the balance is really the putting the attention on the fulcrum, that around which it is flowing, the hub of the wheel, if you want to use that analogy as well. And the moment you start comparing to something else, right? If you just stop for a moment and go, okay, well, where's this comparison coming from? What's the drive to compare? And you'll immediately become aware of something feeling lacking in you. Something's wrong with right now. Right? Because, just look at it. If you didn't compare this moment with any other, would there be anything wrong with it? There couldn't be. There can't be something wrong unless you compare it to something else. Right? So if you're simply witnessing this flow, this wonderful flow, or this wheel turning around the hub, and extend that out to everything is doing that, right? Then what's there to compare to? You have to take a very small place, a very small perspective, in order to compare it all. God need not compare. The mindset of God does not compare, because it is everything. There are no boundaries to it? What am I going to, if I'm infinite, I have no boundaries, what am I going to compare myself to? And that's the perspective of the divine. Everything is simply an aspect of God, no matter what it is. No matter what you look at, you are looking at God manifest, or the self, or truth, or love, or whatever you want to call it, that we try to put a word to that invisible beingness that is manifested in absolutely everything. And because it is the manifestation of that one, that is the fulcrum, it cannot possibly be out of any kind of, it can't be in any kind of inharmony. In order to have inharmony or discord, you have to have two. And the ultimate realization is that God is the only. And the closeness even disappears in oneness. The sense of being that you have, that everybody has right now, that is God. That is the I am. That's why that word, that use of that word, Ramana Maharshi regarded that as one of the best statements in religious literature. I am that I am. The revelation that God is the I am. That was the revelation of Moses. He wasn't talking to the God. He realized that that was the God in him. The I amness was in fact God. Boom, you are not two. And so now everything becomes this flow from that mindset, right? Rather than the mindset of separation.
You just blew one of my own things right out of the water again, because I didn't realize until just now that when I hear the word "we are one," it's in my mind, I felt we are so close. But just by that very word, that's not, I was still visualizing
Even intimate, no matter how intimate, yeah.
right.
No matter how intimate you get, yeah, there's still two. Right?
Yes.
But
Yeah,
you are not two, are you?
right. Yeah, that was a good catch. I've never seen that before. That was fun to look at. I'll do that with my inquiry. Well, Sue's got
Very good.
some shares here. I tried to create a safe space once by inviting the angry feeling I had. I was multitasking though, for real, working on my laptop, and that feeling lingered, and the external atmosphere changed to worse. Oh, so interesting. I ended up being in the state as if I was surrounded by evil energy. It felt disgusting. Maybe the mistake is that I didn't give in my full attention to the beginning. Let's talk about, the full attention versus multitasking.
Yeah, I highly recommend that when you do an inquiry, that's all you do, that you really be with it, right? Although after a while, you get to the point where you can, I call it undivided attention. You can be doing things and aware of what's going on, the reaction to it at the same time, and that's. And ultimately, that the external and the internal just kind of fold into each other, and there isn't any line anymore. There is no out there or in here. It's all just here, right? And so, when you try to create a safe space for your feelings, right? Just be that space. Even the feeling you had here, I didn't give it my full attention. There's a feeling attached to that. Okay, so what? you know that was what was there at the time, right? But now, the fact that you gave it your attention, you said, "Oh, it turned into this. It felt by this evil energy, right?" Well, was it the fact that you were multitasking that created that? Or was your attention actually working and this energy came to the surface? Right? You assume that if I did it right, that wouldn't have happened.
Karma.
but it did, right? And so, oh, I shouldn't be feeling that energy. Well, you felt surrounded by an evil energy. Can you make it safe for that evil energy? If there's nothing in you that can react to it, what can it do? And what does that actually feel like? We call it evil energy. What does that feel like? Right? And remember, no matter what appears to you, it isn't you. Obviously, it's something other than you. So nothing that appears to you has ever touched you. It can't. Oh, please try to see that. It can't actually touch you. It can only tell you things like, oh, this is horrible, got to get out of here. It can create all sorts of ideas that will have all sorts of feelings, but can it actually touch you? Right. That which it is appearing to, can it appear without you? It needs you. You don't need it, but it needs you. So really be present, that evil energy. What is that? It's a sense of malevolence, a sense of hatred. It can be a sense of indifference. It can be a sense of like a dark presence. Right? Okay, now, does that dark presence have any power if you don't give it to it? The way they depict the devil, the medieval devil, this powerful being, could speak all the languages, he would everywhere, right? He was been around forever. And like, I mean, he's a god. He's a god, right? He's not as strong as the god, but he's a god nonetheless. But if you notice, he can't actually do anything. He's got to convince you to do it.
Yes.
He has no power. None. Zero. It's just that thought in your head that is suggesting that you are something other than that. And so it creates a picture of you, of this person who's struggling and didn't do it right, and I shouldn't have been multitasking. It's just a picture in your mind. Right? That's all it is. Is it you? And weren't you there before that came up? And then it went away and you're still here. It's not you. Right? This is the witnessing that takes place. And that witnessing that is just seeing it as, this isn't me, that's the mindset of God. Because it is not touched by any of it. And you see it as just these fabricated creations of the mind that don't have any real actual existence. There isn't any real evil energy out there. There's just this feeling the mind has said, evil energy, I'm afraid of it. Right? Otherwise, what would it be? Just a feeling. Just another feeling that arose.
And can that become a mindset if we grasp onto it? And I'm going to say this because I will see that was so helpful. I swim in the lake. It's the end of the season. I thought I better get out there because it's going to be, we're going to lose this thing. I'm not afraid of the water. There's live fish, seaweed all over the place. I went out like I always do, but then the sun got covered by the clouds and waves actually started happening like an ocean almost. Like they were big. And I was like, ooh, I could almost get scared here. And then I thought, and then the fish will start biting my leg. And then I was going to go into a tailspin.
There you go.
Yeah. Just like Sue, this evil energy. And I was like, what the heck am I? What? Because the sun got covered up, I've suddenly got the devil and demons after me, And so I was appreciative when the clouds moved, by the way. But the waves, I almost got, am I a strong enough swimmer? Can I do this? What if the seaweed wraps around my leg? And I had to stop immediately and just come back to, like, it was a mindset shift, but I wanted to come to, like what you said about the fountain. The fountain started spewing the bitter water, and I wanted it to spew the nice fresh water again. So I was like, I am a strong swimmer. And then so that was so interesting because did the water just suddenly murkily change and, Satan came and put a curse over it? Or what was that? And when I left the water, would it just go back to angels singing with rainbows? Or so I see what you're saying there. We manifest. No, we create. We adopt a mindset. We program a mindset, and then that field is manifest around us. But it may not have been what we originally thought. Like the laptop, was it multitasking, or was it something in us expressing itself?
Well, it's a beautiful example because she wanted to make a safe space. She was multitasking. This other feeling came up, and the mind was off to the races trying to explain what happened.
Yes.
And it's just going to use the old information it has to kind of spin a story, because that's what it does. I mean, the whole job of the mind is to create a story that makes sense out of experience. Right? When we realize it's a mindless thing that's just been programmed to do that in a certain way, we become its master. But that's what happens, right? That's what happens. All of a sudden, the mind goes, oh, and then before you know it, it's off, right? The machine has started running, and if you don't catch it, right, you get sucked into the narrative, and there's emotion with it. Or how am I going to fix this? And then you want to change the mindset. You don't have to change the mindset, right? Once you see through it, the mindset changes all by itself, because the mind is so secondary to you. Right?
Yes. Yes. I did finish my swim and enjoy it. And I hope, Sue, that you love working on your laptop again and are able to do the self-inquiry. But it is a very good thing to practice to do, is set some time aside, be present, and honor yourself in that moment to see what comes up. Just, yes, I do. And you're also all invited on Wednesdays to the temple, to the Trappist monks, to do that for a full hour plus, which is on Wednesday. So let us know if you would like to be a part of that. And then just from Dante here, I am the evil I see in you, the rejection and self-denial, the turning away from the light, the illusion. It's funny because my son was covered. The illusion projected. You don't have to believe anything. Choose love beyond concepts. Lovely. Thank you.
Yes, and that's true. Love is beyond concepts, and with love, concepts become loving.
Oh.
We have somebody in Berlin, Jens, who said, coincidentally, 4 hours ago, I saw you for the first time. Wow. Welcome, Jens. Yeah. Good to see you. Dante also, is this someone I can interact with? Very important.
You're asking.
But only if you've done the inquiry to find out who the I is. Because if it's identified with the ego, the ego is going to assess the value of this person, and it will be very selfish. It will be unconsciously, what can you do for me?
Yeah.
In some form. But if the inquiry has been done, then the feeling becomes trustworthy. It isn't, as long as there's the residual smell of ego is still there.
And Dante, we did a show. I want to say it was last week's show, but it might have been the week before, that we really dove into the who is the I, and it's quite it was eye opening. Oh, that's funny. But no, it really, because if I was showing up in that group that we were just discussing, and then the other person, which happens to me, it's some weird reason in life, they joke around about, being mean to an animal. The I in me, it's an ego, animal protector and everything. I get insulted and my back up, and but it's not I, because I'm really witnessing that, and my ego is now stepping in. So I might say it's not safe for that I ego to be there, because I haven't done enough of my own work to be like, you can't hurt me. What, you say some words, but it doesn't mean I shouldn't watch out just in case that person's bad.
Exactly. And now you can discern clearly, because it's not just the reactive patterns of the egoic mind, which can't see anything clearly. It's always predefined, right? It's because it's not really conscious. Right? Yes. And Colleen, I just want to make sure I acknowledge everybody who said something here. The mind, false self, ego is a bottomless pit. You can peer into the rabbit hole till you die, or you can just realize that there's nothing there. It is a bottomless pit when you are identified with it. Because remember, it does not sustain itself. It requires you to believe it in order to be sustained. So when you looking at it, the sense of a false self, recognize that it is a sense, it is an idea. There is no false self. There's nothing actually there, as you see. Just realize there's nothing there. But now go one step further and go, well, what is here? It isn't enough just to see that, okay, that's not me. Then it just kind of opens up the door and goes, okay, well, then what am I? Who is here? Who am I? This I that isn't that ego. So just don't stop there. Keep going. Keep going the rest of the way in.
That's beautiful. That's actually a big thing. Yes, I'm not even going to say anything. That was perfect. Don't just stop. That's not me. Oh, but then who is here? And if you would like to find out, I have to do it again. I'm sorry, I have to do it. This is why we have created the Tappist monks, the temple, where we do get to do this practice. It's every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern. It's set for an hour, often goes a little longer, but it's...
So far, it hasn't been an hour yet. So
No, it really hasn't. Because it's that if you are noticing that you are stopping at a certain point, like, oh, okay, well, I'm here and I'm you just want to have some practice. It's practice. We get to practice in a group. We get to practice one-on-one with GP. If you raise your hand and say, I'd like to do that. We have just dropped the price. I have to announce this. It was $97 and we might get it back up there. However, we wanted to really build it up and allow and make sure everybody could come in. First 100 people coming in is only $47 US for the entire month. We meet every Wednesday. So sometimes there's 4, sometimes there's 5, but it's a great opportunity for you to get in there and really get this practice underway and don't stop. So I welcome everybody. Don't stop. Just message us here if you'd like some more about that. And we'll get you in, and we're going to be there tomorrow. So thank you, GP. Oh, another mind-blowing one. I loved it. The mindset of God, mind blown. So thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. And thank you, GP.
Thanks, everyone.